You've joined the Betamax Video Club, rewinding back to our favourite films of the 1980s. My name's Rich Nelson, and tonight I've rented Superman 2. Watching it with me is John Rain, who can be found at Smurshpod. Hi John, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
Excited to talk about one of my favourite films, certainly one that I loved as a kid and still do, Superman 2. How was watching it this time?
Good, yeah, it's always good. I watched this film quite a lot. I mean, not as much as the first one. The first one's my favourite. This one's a bit of a butcher's slab of a film for me because it's got lots of continuity issues, obviously, because of it switching directors around. And I don't enjoy it that as much as the first one, but I do have a great deal of affection from it when I was a kid, because obviously when you're a kid and you watch the first one, it doesn't feel that exciting, whereas the second one, you've got Superman fighting people.
Yeah, and this film, it's very different, as you say. That the first film was quite sort of on a grand epic scale. It was there was a huge origin story, and you didn't actually see Superman in his famous costume for quite some time. But this one,
no,
to sort of stop any confusion for anyone listening, we're generally going to be talking about the theatrical version here. It's the one that everyone will have seen, and not the Richard Donner cut, which maybe is more for completists and so on. But it's I mean, we talked about it last week, and a couple of people talked on Twitter about it earlier. And the Donner cut, I suppose it's essential viewing for fans, but it's so it's even more patchy and put together than this, and understandably so.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, like you say, it's for completists, and it gives people. Because I know certainly when I used to visit like Superman forums when the rumours were coming out about it, and there was always lots of talk about the stuff that no one's seen, and obviously they all got included in there. So that was quite a thrill to see that, because I hadn't seen it before. I hadn't previously had videotapes that were circulating with all the stuff on it.
Yeah, and these were circulating online for quite a while, and even the international cuts of the original film, which have just sort of emerged on Blu-ray as an official release, which was, again, for completists and exciting to see, but didn't really add much.
No.
But you can tell with this sort of Superman 2, as soon as it opens, and it's very much from the first film, and of course the two were meant to be sort of part one and part two.
Yeah.
We open with the three Kryptonian villains in their trial awaiting sentencing, and yet where's Brando? He's not there. He's not even a sound-alike, is he?
Yeah, because it feels very much, it reminded me of, when you watch Top of the Pops now, and if there's a Dave Lee Travis episode, he's removed from it. It feels like that, because they didn't want to pay Brando the money he wanted. And he sued them, I think. I think he sued them for some sort of dispute. So they were like, well, fuck you then, we just won't use you. So you get the exciting trial that you see at the beginning of the first film, but with no Brando, because you get that wonderful speech of, this is no careless project, careless product of imagination, and all that nice bit. But now, as you say, you get nothing. You get this removed narration that's terrible. And you just get these projectors in the background, and, Zod and his mates trapped in those hula hoops. And they murder a stormtrooper.
So I don't even get that bit, because...
And, they get sent...
Yeah, the bit with the red crystal thing they snap. I mean, that just looked like an ice pop you get from the corner shop. I don't know what... Is that the crime they're supposed to have committed?
Well, they're supposed to have committed sedition and treason. So I'm guessing they were trying to... But yeah, as you say, it doesn't really come across, because it looks like they've just snapped something you find in a pound shop or something, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the first film, he explains quite well what they've done. But yeah, in this one, it's very much like it's not very well done, and they get sent to the Phantom Zone. And then we get previously on Superman during the opening credits.
It's a proper montage, and yet, again, no Brando, so Superman's mum, Susanna York, is sort of front and centre, and we get pretty much a 2-minute to music and credits of, this is what you've missed, this is what's happened. You won't hear any talking, but we'll assume that you know. It's a good little idea, but I say it's slightly confusing when
it goes on too long.
It does, and some of the bits of it are a little bit, unnecessary.
Yeah, and also the opening credits in the first film, they put the stamp down and say, look, we've put tons of money into this film. Even the opening credits are just incredible. And in this one, they look like they've been done for telly. Also, the music's done by Ken Thorne, who's someone who worked with Richard Lester previously. And it sounds like what it is, like John Williams couldn't do it. I reckon he probably didn't want to do it out of solidarity for how Donna was treated. And so he brought in Ken Thorne, and it sounds like it's an orchestra. It sounds like a very small orchestra, because when the Superman theme comes in over the credits, it just sounds so weedy. Whereas in the first one, Williams' theme is a real thump. It's got real heart to it. Whereas all the music in this film sounds like it's been done for telly by a small television orchestra, and that's part of the problem with the film. It doesn't feel like it's any money in it.
No, it does feel like huge parts of it feel like they were done on the cheap, and the music was one of the main things that you love about the first film. It's a proper Williams soundtrack, and the fact that even on the Blu-ray of the first film, you can watch with just the music, just as an audio track, and yet this one it's obviously the same music, but it's like if a school band recorded the theme tune to Jurassic Park or something. It's just you can tell what it is, but it's just not the same.
It's like when you get one of those karaoke versions of a famous pop song. Because you hear it and you're like, yeah, that's jive talking, but it doesn't sound like it's been done by the Bee Gees. It's that sort of thing. And it's not great. And once you sit through the end credits that go on for an age, you get the film when it starts, and it just feels cheap. I mean, I think I was reading the other day that there's very little location filming in this. It was all done much like Superman 4 and probably 3 as well, actually. No, 3 was done in Canada, but 4 was mainly done over here, and this one was mainly done on the back lot of Pinewood. Or Elstree, sorry. And it just shows. The bit where Clark... you get the external shot of the outside of the Daily Planet from New York from the first film, and then it cuts to Clark walking down the street, which is clearly on a back lot, and it's the bit where he walks across the street and the cab drives into him, and it just doesn't. None of it looks real. It looks like it's on a set, and it's just so removed from the first film. It's difficult to watch. If you were to sit down to watch them, as like an evening's viewing to watch the Superman franchise, and obviously as it goes down, it slowly falls down the toilet. But certainly from the first film to this film, there's such a drop off.
Yeah.
Apart from actually the Donna scenes, any scene with Lex Luthor in, which has been done by Donna because Gene Hackman refused to come back for reshoots. They look really lush because obviously it's the same setup from the first film, the cinematography and everything.
Yeah.
And then when you cut to a Lester shot, it just looks really pale and cheap.
I mean, it's funny when I was on my honeymoon, one of the things that I thought I'll go and do all these tourist stuff and in New York, and I actually went right to my wife. Right, we've got to go down to near Grand Central Station. Oh right, yeah, let's go look at that. That's really famous. And then we go a bit further down the same road. That's the front of the Daily Planet. The what? Yeah. And got some looks, but I could have just taken her to Elstree, to be honest. Going to see Big Brother being filmed at the same time.
She's gone to Milton Keynes, the United Nations building.
Yeah, which is that the Argos now, I think, is it?
Isn't it the main train station? I think it's the Daily Planet offices that's in Argos now, I think.
Oh, no. This is... I'm supposed to be getting Milton Keynes for work in a couple of months, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, go and check it out.
I'll have to do a little tour.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the parts that, we opened, because in the original film, it was meant to be... The ending of that film was the nuclear missiles that Lex Luthor launched ended up in space.
Yeah.
And so because they had to rush out the first film and get the missiles sorted by Superman reversing the Earth, they've had to squeeze in this scene to explain why a missile would go into space.
Yeah.
Other than the usual reasons, I suppose. So they've decided, and I don't know, did they get a Paris for this at least?
They did, possibly. Yeah. But obviously the close-ups are all sets. But again, this is another thing for Lester to get directing credit, because he has to. I think the Director Guild rules are that you have to have at least 51% of your work on the screen to get a credit.
Yeah.
Hence why there's lots of reshoots, probably unnecessarily. But the Paris stuff they had to do, as you say, because of the original ending was not used.
Yeah. And so they've engineered...
But you get to see Uncle Monty as a terrorist.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's so you've got three British guys with French accents posing as, I suppose, workmen with a hydrogen bomb in an oil barrel, just going up and down in a lift with some nuns. And as I say, Uncle Monty's one. I think the other two were in I recognise one of them from Minder, proper jobbing actors, but Uncle Monty, we'll just call him that. He's the sort of main one who's he's controlling the bomb. The bomb doesn't control him.
Does not control me. Yeah, one of them is. Do you remember Bottom?
Yes.
Do you remember the episode where Richie thinks he's been cursed by a gypsy?
Oh God, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, we goes to see that doctor, and the doctor's really cross with him, and he leans on that patient, and the blood squirts all over him.
Oh God, it's him.
One of the terrorists is him. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! And this is it. This is what a lot of people did. I suppose it's they probably responded to an ad in the local boards and just go and film us. Probably didn't realise it was a Superman film at the time.
Yeah, well, it was all shot here. I mean, even the American actors in this are American actors that live in England, like Shane Rimmer. And at the time, John Ratzenberger was living here because he's in the first film as well.
Well, that's the thing I was thinking about, was a lot of these also pop up in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Or various Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, which I think Empire Strikes Back was filmed around the same time as some of this anyway.
Yeah.
Sort of cutting forward, the warden in the prison who checks on Lex Luthor's lights, he's the gold leader from Star Wars.
Ah.
It's just little things like that. Obviously, I guess he must have the old Fountain of Youth, because he seemed to pop up in that Rogue One film as well.
Yes.
I do wonder if that was a...
Peter Cushing did as well. He looked great.
Yeah. Princess Leia, not so much, but whether they'll bust it out for the next film, I don't know. And again, like you say, Shane Rimmer, a bit of a nice little link to your work. He's been busted down from was he the commander from the Spy Who Loved Me? And then he was in this as a NASA controller, and by Superman 3, he's directing traffic outside a chemical plant. So
yeah, and he's in Batman Begins.
Oh yeah, was he a train controller or something like that?
He's the Mr. Exposition who works in the train station. If that train heads any further, we'll go kablammo, or whatever he says.
Yeah, that seems to be his role in life.
And the voice of Dick Spanner. Do you remember Dick Spanner?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, it is. If you're an American living in England, especially during the 70s and 80s 80s when they filmed a lot of stuff there, I'd imagine you were quite busy. Most of the cast of Aliens just happened to be American actors who were living here at the time. Like Bill Paxton was living in London, and pardon me, sorry, I'm drinking beer when I'm talking.
That's all right.
And everybody else, yeah.
And this is it. It's nice to see these guys pop up. One of the things that struck me was obviously Clark Kent realizes that this terrorist plot is afoot. It takes him, and again, it's difficult. The magic of Hollywood or Pinewood. It's difficult to establish the time it takes for him to fly from Metropolis to Paris, when in the previous film he can turn the Earth on its axis.
Yeah. The picture of I remember at the time I had this on my wall. The picture of the scene where he transforms into Superman in that alleyway.
Yes.
I had a look-in poster of that. It was the entire montage of Clark undoing his shirt, and it was like a big blur, and then he was Superman at the end of the poster. I had that on my wall for years.
I always remember that just being really colourful.
I love that bit.
It's the most colourful alleyway.
But also, there's something I don't understand here, because he walks in and everybody's ignoring him because he's a bit of a prick. And he goes to see Perry, and Perry's like, oh, there's this big terrorism thing happening. Where have you been? And he goes, oh, I've been at home. And he goes, well, don't you watch TV? And he goes, no, I was reading Dickens. Is that a euphemism for wanking? Because he's been doing, what's he been doing all this time?
Imagine if he spent a whole weekend, and it's not going to take Superman long to read, well, let alone the entire works of Dickens. He's got Babe Station on his fucking black and white anyway.
He means like dick in.
It's some sort of Kryptonian super wank.
Yeah, it's code for... Sorry, it's only taken, 16 minutes, and I talked about wanking. Sorry about that. But I'm confused as to how Superman... It doesn't ring true to me that Superman would have no idea that there's a terrorist incident going on in Paris.
Yeah, it's kind of his job, really.
Yeah. This is what would happen to him after he gets that dodgy kryptonite in Superman 3, and he's trying to shag Lana Lang, and she's like, oh, there's a truck hanging over that bridge, and he's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is what he's doing then.
Are you saying he was sort of pseudo-raping someone like Lana? It's all a bit shady, isn't it? The fact that Superman, and I know they embellish this in other films, he sort of always knows what's going on. Do they really think that Superman, having just presumably saved the world from or California anyway, from nuclear destruction, has decided to have a weekend off and has probably gone down to B&Q and sort out a barbecue or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to believe that he's had a weekend off. Yeah, which doesn't ring true at all. I think I should point out as well, this script was doctored by Leslie and David Newman, who wrote the script to the first film, and it was so campy and shitty that Richard Donner got Tom Mankiewicz to do a pass over it and make it much better.
Mm.
And obviously, in this film, when Lester came in, he got David and Leslie Newman on board again to tidy it up. So that's why there's lots of stupid stuff in it, because they think they're funny. And obviously, they went on to write Superman 3, which is full of stupid stuff, because they think they're funny.
With the whole thing, when you again go back to the first film, and was it verisimilitude was the word that was plastered all over the set, and this may have just been matron. Everything about it is either a slightly weird double entendre or some sort of joke about American redneck hicks, especially when that was filmed on the back lot of the studio as well.
Oh God, yeah, but yeah, Richard Lester is a comedy director. I mean, his CV is full of the Running Junction, Standing Still film. He did all the Show Called Fred with Peter Sellers.
Mm.
He did the Musketeers films for the Salkinds, and they're camp and they're silly.
Yeah.
And he obviously was good at working within a budget and not going over schedule, which is something that Donner did do in the first film. He went over budget and over schedule, but arguably it was worth it.
This film, when Lois decides to interfere with the bomb, she climbs under the lift just dreaming of her Nobel Prize, and with her really bad sort of Del Boy French getting by the copper at the bottom. So Superman sort of turns up
just in time,
just as the lift's plummeting.
Just after we've established that the French are idiots. That's what we're saying here, because they, even though there's an atomic bomb on the top of the thing, they decide to blow the lift.
Now, I'm no bomb expert, and if I end up doing one in my job, something's gone fucking horribly wrong. But if you explode a lift with a bomb in it, which then plummets however hundreds of meters the Eiffel Tower is, it's probably going to go off at the bottom, turning the Eiffel Tower into Parisian ground zero. Yeah, the French are idiots.
Yeah, that's what we're saying here, because that was the common trope in the 80s, that the French are stupid. Well, anyone who speaks French is stupid, and that's what they say, like European Vacation, all that sort of thing. But yeah, Superman turns up because Lois is the lift. She's under the lift, and to stop herself being scared, she's spelling Nobel Prize, capital N, small o, which always annoys me. But yeah, he turns up, and she's like, "Thanks." Oh, there's a bomb, and then he takes it up to space, and he throws it into space. And it makes me wonder how many times Superman has gone into space to get rid of things, because he seems to do it a lot. It's like it's probably full of his jazz mags and women. People who disagreed with him, dissidents, and in the fourth film, nuclear weapons.
Yeah, well, he seems to have a very large, I'd say, a mesh bag full of nuclear bombs in that. So he's obviously got one tucked somewhere else with all his all the stuff he doesn't want Lois finding when she comes round.
Well, you think to yourself, where can I put something where there's a lot of space? I know, space. A no-brainer.
I don't want her to see my copy of Kryptonian Wives too.
Yeah, exactly. It's got my mum in it. Yeah, he throws the bomb up there and obviously releases the Phantom Zone. Now, it's the thing I do approve of in this film. In the Donner cut, when they're released, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And the first thing Zod shouts is "freedom" or something like that. Maybe not Bravehearty, but he says "free" anyway. And it's really awful. But in this, they just get out and they just go, "Oh, that was good," and they just fly off.
Yeah. It's like, oh, fuck it, what's that? It's the moon. Let's go there.
Why would you go to the moon? That bothers me. It's this big grey lump of rock. You wouldn't go there. You go to the one behind it where it's all green and blue and looks like it's got life.
They're supposedly Kryptonian, and judging from what I've seen, they should be, or at least Zod is of some intellect, or it's implied anyway. And yet, so they go to the moon, but how? And space is a large place, as we've discussed. You can hide a lot of porn there.
Yeah.
Of all the galaxies and all the worlds and all that, how come they end up by the moon?
You had to walk in the mine.
I walked up to the moon.
They did, and there's a bit of a joke as well when they land on the moon, because the man says, there's a really weird gag before this actually. When we cut to see Luther and Otis in jail, right? This is obviously the scene Donna directed, but again, you get the impression here that Lester's gone, this scene needs a gag, right? So Otis and Luther are talking, and Luther walks past this guy and says to him, "By the way, I want my Liberace record back tonight," which is a shit gag as it is. And the prisoner says something back to him, but it's been dubbed with, "There's a scratch on it," really awkwardly. And I'm like, well, surely that can't have been better than the joke that was there before, because it's just not funny.
I wonder if Liberace record is prison lingo for something.
It could be.
So I want my Liberace record tonight in the showers, but
oh yeah, you might be right. 12 inches of it.
That's what it depends how many RPM.
Maybe there's a scratch on it means I'm circumcised.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we've cracked that one.
I hadn't thought about that.
Tick.
We're plumbing the depths of Superman 2 here. This is good. It's good. They should have put this in the Donald cut.
They should. And then so as I was saying before, that the moon bit, and the man on the moon, not that man, not Andy Kaufman. He says to John Ratzenberger and Shane Rimmer, "Everything's good here. By the way, Boris and I are engaged." And then he says, "Just a little daytime humour, Houston." It's like, how fucking bored must you be if that's the joke you've come up with?
And even then, he sort of implies, "Well, I had a feeling about you too when I saw your Rorschach test."
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, you're clearly, I've seen your tests.
Don't kink shame me.
Yeah. And then, of course, the kinky ones are those three Kryptonian lot in their fucking outfits.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I wondered that it's basically a black leather, thigh-high boots and all that. It really freaked me out. Almost as much as the robot woman from Superman 3.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 37 now.
Right.
But when I was a kid, I suppose it was the 80s, it was probably quite normal. It was still really weird.
Yeah, it is weird. But at the same time, when I was a kid, I thought it was quite cool. Especially with Ursula. Her name's Ursula, isn't it? With her collecting her cool badges.
Yeah, like a Blue Peter.
Yeah, like Blue Peter. Yeah, like Rick from the other one. She's got like a NASA badge, and then she gets a sheriff badge.
I think by the end she has the one of the generals sort of set ribbon medals and that as well. So I think that's sort of down by her belt. She's obviously got to hang something from there.
Yeah.
The astronaut in the module bit who's giving away all this really shit jokes. He was the gunner from Empire Strikes Back.
Oh God, of course he was.
Luke Skywalker's mate who pops his clogs quite early.
Was he called Dak or something?
Dak, yeah.
I feel like I could take on the Empire myself.
Yeah, typecast as a idiot who can't do well in space.
Yeah.
But we have the sort of chat between Shane Rimmer and Ratzenberger, who he was the missile control guy in the first one, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose his career's gone downhill. He's now playing a toy pig in Toy Story.
Yeah, he's not doing well.
Yeah, but I say this, they're sort of overseeing what appears to be some sort of alien invasion, and they're talking about the curls of comets and things like that.
Well, he says, "I saw a girl," and he says, "I thought you said curl." And he said, "What the hell's a curl?"
There's an age joke.
Yeah, I was in high school. Obviously, the pinnacle of John Ratzenberger's career, of course. I mean, we're being stupid here, but obviously, John Ratzenberger, if you don't know, kids at home, John Ratzenberger was most well known for being in House 2, The Second Story.
Even I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen House 2?
No.
Oh, well, you should do it. It's an 80s film. House and House 2.
That's what it sounds like. It's right up my sesame.
Yeah, I mean, House is a classic comedy horror film, and House 2 is a really shit comedy horror film that you'd probably really like. No offense.
I've got no shit.
It's a strange. Yeah, it's a strange thing because in the first House film, Norm, is it Norm? George Wendt, the fat guy
from Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the first film as the neighbour, and in the second film, John Ratzenberger's in it as a cameo. It was quite a little funny thing they did there.
Maybe Ted Danson turned up in the third one.
Well, he was in Creepshow, so he didn't need to.
Yes. Too busy
drowning.
The Kryptonian baddies have turned up in their S&M stuff, and they basically smash the spaceship up, and Ursa kicks the American guy with the badge, kicks him in the balls, and he goes flying off.
Yeah.
And then Zod throws the Russian guy. He sort of mumbled something. He said, some sort of fragile life form. I thought he was talking Russian.
She says we ripped through them like paper.
I suppose you would if you had superhuman strength. But
How does she know? How does she know what paper is? Huh?
see, one of the things, because I grew up in North London, and I suppose as a young boy, I wasn't particularly well travelled. And when they said Houston, they come from a place called Houston, I assumed it was Euston,
Yeah, I did.
and that they were going to go and take over the station, which would have been an improvement even then.
Whereabouts in North London did you grow up?
Archway, gentrification spot at the moment, but yeah, it wasn't great.
Wow.
I went to school in lovely Potter's Bar, which was a big change of pace.
Oh, right, nice. I grew up in Watford.
Many an evening spent there.
Oh.
Right, so we've gone back to Earth, and Lex Luthor is still in prison with Otis. The weirdest sort of escape of all time happens where Miss Teschmacher, the lady from the first one, their mole, decides to drift into Metropolis Prison in a rather large hot air balloon,
Yeah.
Branson style.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because you'd think, A, if you were a prison guard, you'd see that coming from about 25, 30 minutes away. And B, even when they've got Luther, you'd be able to stop it for about 25 to 30 minutes by just shooting at it, you'd imagine.
And they make a point of showing that the guard, who looks like he's pretty well armed, is too busy trying to watch a sports match in the little watchtower. Poor form, and I suppose it's probably Group 4, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, but they'd have more than one guard, wouldn't
I'd hope so.
they? You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Unless they've been privatised.
Unless they're all reading Dickens.
Yeah. And even then, I think the chap with his feet up watching the telly, that he looks like he's read a few Dickens in his time. But this escape was this was the last we saw of Otis, wasn't it? Because they just basically leave him to rot in the prison, being tortured by these dogs. Otis and Miss Teschmacher drift off unimpeded and seem to they go north because Lex Luthor has magically turned what looks like some sort of tease maid into a device that can read alpha waves, whatever they are.
Yeah, it's not really explained, but yeah.
I wonder if that was explained more in the story, but these alpha waves are. But it basically says he sees 3 dots.
Yes, that's the Kryptonians. Yeah.
Everyone assumes that they're there, but who knows what these alpha waves are? But it looks like he's been doing some sort of studying of some sort of rehabilitation or special scheme in prison where he's learning about Superman's heritage and where he's from, and that he always flies north.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I don't know really how he knows that.
No,
never really made clear. I mean, in the first film, you get at least some details about how he's been studying the newspaper and knows about the piece of kryptonite's come down to Addis Ababa and all that just by reading the interview. But in here, it seems like he's just suddenly come up with that in prison.
I don't know if that was one of the books that gets wheeled around and it was Superman's autobiography.
Yeah, maybe. Fire and Fury.
So it's fake news.
Exactly.
The next, so that they've escaped, drifted off, cut to Niagara Falls, and this is the sort of, the set piece for Lois Lane to find out that Clark Kent is Superman.
Yes. Well, they get sent on a...
So they've gone into their expose, don't they?
Yeah, an expose of a honeymoon racket in Niagara Falls, and it's hardly fucking Watergate, is it?
No, and they're supposed to be she anyway is supposed to be the sort of premier writer, and bear in mind in the first film she's talking about rapists and massacres and stuff, and this time she's going on some sort of plot to Holiday Inn ramping up their prices when there's a football match nearby. It's
famous actor Anthony Sher is in this as the bellboy.
Yeah, he's been in a lot, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty good in this. I think it's quite funny.
Yeah, he's got that sort of sleazy sort of vibe that it seems to sort of rile them up. Have a good whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And a vibrating bed.
Yeah, the whole thing. And yet this isn't the weirdest looking bed in the film. As we'll see in about 20 minutes' time.
Yeah.
But Clark gets very sort of noble and, really on the side, almost like an Anne Robinson in Watchdog, trying to take the side of these poor, hard done by kids who put their life savings into staying in this hotel that looks like some sort of Dame Edna's worst nightmare. I don't know what sort of kid would dream of going to somewhere like this for a wedding. Everyone has their thing, but
It's a bit disconcerting.
Yeah, I suppose it'd be late 70s teens. They'd have their little wedding planners and all that, and saying, you know what we want? We want to stay in somewhere that's pink polyester, everything, and a roaring health and safety risk in the middle of the room.
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, with the polyester, that would just go up in a minute. It'd be like a fire in a matchstick factory.
And again, it's like one of the things you talked about in Santa Claus with the toys with the glass and the nails in. You're asking for it, aren't you? But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Where's the poor fire guard around there?
John Lithgow's probably in charge of this hotel.
Yeah, that seems like the sort of thing he'd do, because if someone went in and when they talk about complimentary corsage and he shouts for free.
Exactly, yeah.
After this, and we've had their little sort of spiel, and they're talking about the sleeping arrangements, and Clark Kent looks incredibly nervous while they're bringing up the prospect of lying next to Lois. Miss Teschmacher and Lex are still floating off north in their weird hot air balloon, and Lex Luthor is still dressed in his prison slacks.
Yeah, with his weird body double as well.
Yeah, there's no hypothermia there, is there? But back at Niagara Falls, we've got the scene with that stupid fucking kid doing his Darwin Award attempt. I mean, natural selection at its finest, but I don't really, other than, again, an exposition point to try and engineer Superman being there at the time. Even as a kid, I remember watching this thinking, Bellend.
Yeah. No, it annoys me intensely. And since becoming a parent as well, the parents really annoy me. It's like they're related to the parents from Home Alone. Like, why would you have a child and let him play by one of the biggest waterfalls, well, the biggest waterfall in the world? Maybe the one in Brazil's bigger, I don't know, but yeah, and then pay no attention to him as he's literally hanging off of the handrails. Oh, it makes me angry.
And giving the old, yeah, honey, that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Remember that at the funeral, weren't you, mother?
Yeah, maybe Superman will come down there with the rest of the hot dogs that were left at the stall.
He's a cuck.
He is. I was worried my daughter was chasing the dog around earlier. She had some bubbles. Maybe Maybe I'll take her to Niagara Falls one day. Show her. Yeah, put your crash helmet on. Get her in a barrel. Superman. Well, this kid inevitably plummets to impending death, and yet Superman, obviously, Clark Kent's gone to get hot dogs and decides to go and save him.
Yeah.
And the weird comment that I always thought I misheard, and of course I didn't, was the old lady when Superman's caught this kid and is flying him back up going, what a nice man. Of course he's Jewish.
Oh, yeah. That's yeah, again, that's Richard Lester, I bet. Just going up.
Yeah.
Funny. We'll do it in ADR. We'll just get someone to do that. There's lots of really bad ADR in this film anyway, but
it's terrible.
That's probably something that he thought would be hilariously funny.
I did read somewhere, and I used to sort of float around some of these forums as well, looking for like DVDs and stuff. And I heard it was some sort of homage to the fact that Superman, the guys who created the character, were Jewish. But that seems like an awfully big leap.
Yeah. No, it's just a very poor joke.
It's just casual racism. It was that era when it was fine.
Yeah.
Superman flies off and then reappears magically shortly afterwards. And even then, Lois, while she seems, I wouldn't say convinced, but she's got it in her head purely because of the way that he took his glasses off when they steamed up a little bit. She starts sort of quizzing, going, oh, why would he be here? And this is the guy who took 10 minutes to fly from New York to Paris.
Yeah, exactly. But also we get Lex and Miss Teschmacher trying out all the crystals, and they get Lobot from The Empire Strikes Back reading them a poem about trees.
Yeah, he's old Lando's mate, isn't he?
Yeah, good for him.
But the poem that he reads out is the one that Burt Reynolds, was it the one Burt Reynolds quotes at Farrah Fawcett in the Cannonball Run?
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, Joyce Kilmer, him, not her.
Yeah,
it's and again, this is something where in the Donner cut, obviously it's Brando reading this, and Brando, fucking loves it, doesn't he?
Oh, that's the best thing about the Donna cut is that you get all the Brando stuff back in, and it's so much better. I mean, nothing against Susanna York; she's fine. It just doesn't make sense that Clark would come all. I mean, Kal-El would come all the way to Earth with Jor-El reading him all this stuff, and then the first crystal they pick up is his mum teaching him, and you're just like, well, that's not what happened. She wasn't the scientist; Jor-El was. And it really pisses me off.
Yeah, I've spoken to your mum. I'm fine. Put Dad back on.
Exactly. Yeah, she should be like BT from the old BT advert.
Oh, he's got a cryptonology.
Yeah.
But this is the thing where obviously Lex Luthor, he's one of these. He knows a little bit, which is the worst bit. But and this is kind of what led into Superman Returns film, when Christopher Plummer turns up at this Fortress of Solitude and says, or basically implies, I've been here before.
Yeah.
So this is it. And Miss Teschmark is just basically making gags about how she hasn't been for a piss for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then in the Donna cut, she finds a toilet. So, but you assume...
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was the Donna cut or this cut, but yeah, you get a toilet flushing noise, don't you?
And do you know that because Gene Hackman's in it, Donna filmed it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No excuse.
But she explains, so Mrs. Superman explains the three criminals, the fact that on Krypton they were uncontrollable, and just conveniently, they just might, escape if a nuclear blast in space.
Yeah, it's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very specific. I like that.
It is. Also, we should say that Miss Tessmacher was also in Cannonball Run.
She was the police officer, wasn't she?
Yeah. Have you got your driver's registration in there as well?
That could have been one of those cop shows gone wrong.
Could have been.
All these dash cam footage.
Mm-hmm.
So after Lex has learned enough about these criminals and gone off and brought up the possibility of parole for these three, and bear in mind the Phantom Zone, it's barely mentioned. It's a prison of sorts, but eternal life nonetheless. It's in the Supergirl film where we learn really a lot more about that.
Yeah.
Whether that was deliberate or not, I don't know. But that was where the Phantom Zone, you actually go in there and see this sort of horrible place.
Peter O'Toole's in there.
Yeah, it's not a good way to go.
No.
But I just thought it was a big rotating piece of glass.
Yeah, no, it turns out you've got Peter O'Toole in there, so I'm presuming there's a bar.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be seen dead in there.
Well, unfortunately, he was dead at the end of it. But then I suppose Peter O'Toole and Terence Stamp, that could be fun.
Yeah.
So after we've had this bit, we go back to Niagara and the really painful bit of Lois betting her life on Clark being Superman by throwing herself into a river.
Yeah, well, she makes a bold claim. She says, your disguise is nearly perfect. And then she says, you had me fooled and I'm pretty clever or something.
Yeah.
And then she says, if I'm wrong, you've got one hell of a story. What, a woman jumping in a river? Is that the story, is it?
Well, that's what I was thinking if Clark Kent was going to write about this, would the headline, "The Woman I Love Kills Self in Stupid Bet"?
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing, if he had any sort of feeling for it, he'd probably try and keep it quiet.
Yes, but I do like the way that he sells it as, oh no, I'm Clark Kent and I'm really useless and I can't do anything to help, and runs after her.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sneaky eye lasers.
But then as they're drying off, so she's still wet from being in the river, he throws himself in a fire.
Yeah.
It's kind of, after all that, if she'd have caught Weil's disease from that river, and that was rife in the canal near where I grew up, would it have been worth it?
No, absolutely. But I do like the way, I mean, the bit in the Donna cut, which was the screen test, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of I'm so confident you're Superman, I'm going to shoot you. But I do like the way they did it in this better, of Superman burning his hand and then her checking and it's fine, and then he just eventually admits that he's Superman, and I think it's done much better. It works better for me than her wanting to shoot him.
Yeah, I think that, and this, he's managed to convince her that he's not, and then she finds out that he is. It's a lot more, I suppose, reassuring, and the fact that, as he said, in the other cut, if you'd have shot me, you'd have killed Clark Kent. And then she goes, with a blank.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that's the kicker. But even so, it's a bit too kind of menacing, and him tripping over that polyester tiger thing, it works better for me.
Yeah, and to be fair, he was dressed as basically head to toe CNA beige. He probably threw himself in because he saw the wardrobe.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah.
But sorry, go.
Another good example. Sorry, I was just going to say another good example of Christopher Reeve's Superman acting. In that, when he is exposed and removes his glasses, he's at least an inch taller, and all the shackles are off, and he just looks. It's just a phenomenal. It can't be underlined too much. I mean, someone did it on Twitter not long ago, an example of the scene in Superman when he's about to reveal himself to Lois and has second thoughts. But it's just a physical transformation Christopher Reeve did for this part. I mean, especially now when you see. I mean, I quite like Henry Cavill as Superman, apart from the mouth business in Justice League. But there's no real, there's no real difference between his Clark Kent or his Superman. It's literally just wearing a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
Not even a very disguising, stupid pair of glasses either. It's just literally putting on a pair of glasses and wearing the same outfit you wore as Clark Kent before you decided to go to the city. Whereas in this film, and in these films, and even in Superman 4, he brings his A game, and he's even if the films are bad, he's always very, very, very good.
Yeah,
and he should. I mean, quite rightly, he's celebrated, and in many people's minds, mine included, he is and forever will be Superman. I haven't seen anybody else who's been better.
No. And as you say, it's things like that physical performance. It's not just the way he delivers Clark Kent bumbling sort of aspect to it. Or again, you have to kind of remember with Superman, it's Superman is him, and Clark Kent's the persona rather than the other way around. And
exactly,
and the fact that even by looking at his shoulders and the way he stands and his head, his body language in full, that's how he delivers it, and that's how you could almost be convinced that they are two different people.
Yeah.
And in this, he takes off the glasses, but he grows, his chest puffs out, and he looks like Superman in a beige cardi.
But interestingly as well, he manages to get another transformation as well, because when he loses his powers, and he's got that slightly, I guess they've just like degreased his hair and let it fall down a bit. He looks like a normal mortal.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he's as bulky, and he doesn't seem like he's as starchy as when he's Superman. He's got that kind of physique thing going on, but when he's mortal again, he just seems like a normal person, and it really works for me. And especially, it really sells it when he gets beaten up in the diner, because I mean, as a child, that bit was really upsetting.
Yeah,
and it still is a bit. But what makes it worse when you grow up and you watch it now and you're like, he really shouldn't have gone back.
Yeah.
And beaten that guy up. I know it's a real but it's really awful. It's an awful thing for a superhero to do, to go back and beat the shit out of somebody who beat you up when you decided, because you had the horn, to go mortal.
And
it seems petty.
And that's just it. And it kind of introduces that concept of revenge, doesn't it? Which is not something you'd associate with Superman.
No.
So, Lois basically tells her she loves him and all that, which is all very sort of well and good. But they fly off. And meanwhile, the Krypton mob, the trio, have turned up in what they think is Houston. It's actually Idaho. So they've managed to work out, I don't know if they've looked at a map and gone, oh, that says Houston. Oh, wait, I think it's East Houston in Idaho. So still several miles away. But they found somewhere called Houston.
They found Idaho with an English boy living there.
Yeah, an English boy, and J.W. Pepper as the sheriff.
Yeah. Because we didn't get enough of him in Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun. We had to have him back. I know he's not playing the same part, but it is the same part.
It is, and the conversation about fish and beans, I still don't. I assume they going to some sort of sheriff's dinner party that evening or something like that.
something like that. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, then you get that boy going, Mister, put my daddy down.
Yeah,
I'm guessing they were going to ADR that later and just forgot.
after the arm wrestling part in the again filmed in sort of Buckinghamshire, but play some cheesy music and get everyone in a cowboy hat. Yeah, we'll make it seem like that. But apparently, the Dwayne, the deputy sheriff who sort of has his gun taken off him, he's the guy in Superman
Yeah.
3 at the cash point when Gus sets it all off, when all the money starts coming out. And he's also in The Spy Who Loved Me, according to IMDb. So,
Oh, right. Okay.
some
Again, when you said cash point there, for some reason, the first thing I thought of was Maximum Overdrive.
yeah.
Honey, this machine just called me an asshole. That would have been better in Superman 3.
Yeah,
Instead of Sandra Dickinson getting a grapefruit stuck in her face.
yeah. There's nothing like a bit of domestic violence in a light-hearted family film.
Exactly.
There were some issues in that film, so that's
Wow.
come back to that in a future episode, I think.
Yeah, I think you should.
So we've had, and this is again another thing where these three start kicking off in this tiny little hamlet, and all of a sudden the news turn up, the army turn up. It escalates fast.
And you get the actor from Star Wars
Oh,
who died recently.
the one that got choked by Darth Vader, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was also in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, yeah. He was the news reporter, wasn't
That's right, yeah.
he? Yeah. He comes to report on this. I suppose he's some sort of local equivalent of London Tonight or whatever, rocking up, and it's
Yeah.
picked up by ITN later that night. But then the army turn up. Now I don't know. Maybe J.W. Pepper has some connections. I don't even know what your name is in this. He's obviously got some connection somewhere. People he hasn't called boy or anything.
Well, yeah. Luckily, there's no chances in here for him to be supremely racist.
Yeah,
So that's nice.
I mean they do imply that there's when they see them in the outfits. Was it? I bet you $10 they're from Los Angeles.
Yes, which is again is a bit of a homophobic thing, isn't it? They're saying,
Yeah.
"I bet you they're gay." I'm just looking on IMDb, and his character is literally called Sheriff. So they haven't even given him a character name.
Yeah,
It's fine.
we're just random. Like I suppose Superman is Superman, Sheriff. After that, yeah, you're struggling. But yeah, it doesn't take long, really for that to get out of hand, and the army rock up with rocket launchers and gunships and all sorts. Obviously, don't last very long. But this was a lot lighter in this version than in the Donner cut, wasn't it? Some of that was quite dark.
Yeah.
Was it Non through the police siren at the kid and killed him or something like that?
Something like that. I don't remember. I've only watched the Donner cut maybe twice.
Yeah.
When it came out. Haven't watched it in a while because I didn't particularly enjoy it.
But I think there's a part in there, and yeah, that siren that Non rips off the police car. They actually end up using it as a weapon. It blows up. I think it might be that kid with the English accent. As he's running off, and he said he was just a boy, and Ursa says he'll never become a man.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and I remember seeing that. But yeah, on a slight aside, I went to see. I think the BFI was showing the Donner cut about 3 or 4 years ago at the cinema, and my wife came along. She didn't realise. I just said, "Oh, we go to the cinema." Didn't realise what it was, and still never forgiven me. But the part with the screen test where they've cut that into the scene where she finds out it's Superman, and it was difficult because I'd like to think that most people in there who weren't coerced spouses were Superman fans of some extent, and yet still pissed themselves laughing at Christopher Reeve's changing hairstyle.
Yeah, that's quite funny.
Yeah,
because it's literally all over the place. Mind you, there's a lot of that in this anyway, because Margot Kidder's hair jumps all over the place because there's a lot of it from the, she comes back for the reshoots, and also she lost loads of weight in between.
Yeah,
and she looks quite skeletal in some moments of this film. I mean, I know, she hasn't been very well since, but.
But then you see as well with Christopher Reeve, and I think over the course of because they spent about 2.5, 3 years filming the two films. And I know there's the talk that, was it Dave Prowse did his sort of personal training, or a lot of it anyway.
Yeah.
And you can see, again, talking about his physique, that some of the stuff that was filmed with Hackman that would have been earlier on, and some of the stuff that was filmed later when he was sort of obviously bigger, it's, again, it's quite obvious sort of seeing the size difference in him.
Yes.
Where I suppose if you're working up with Darth Vader for 2.5 years, it probably has an impact.
Absolutely. I mean, he looks fantastic in this film. I think this was the last one. Yeah, this is the last one where he dyed his hair.
Yeah, because it was
in 3 and 4 he wears a wig.
Yeah, it was. I think I saw it in a museum or something. One of the wig that he used, and we attempted to give it a saucer of milk. It was just this oily black roadkill thing. It was But I say that when I was writing up some notes for this, and because I'd had the DVD on, and when it finished, it went straight into the making of Superman, or the making of Superman 2, and it had a sort of off-camera piece with Christopher Reeve. And he was talking away, and when he was saying, because I think the world premiere of this was in aid of the Special Olympics.
That's right, yeah.
When you were allowed to call it that. And he was talking about mental retardation again, which obviously time hasn't been kind to that phrase anyway. But
no,
his hair, and he looks like he's recording it in some sort of bijou art studio in New York, because he was sort of part of the sort of upper middle class, wasn't he? He had sort of very well off family.
Yes.
So I suppose that would kind of give rise to the whole art school thing.
Yeah. But he went to, I mean, I'm sure you probably know this, everybody knows this, I think, but he went to, was it Juilliard? And he was that's where he met Robin Williams, and they were like best friends for life.
So it's weird, these sort of celebrity friendships you don't really think about. I'm surprised
no,
Robin
absolutely.
Williams.
And Robin Williams and him were such close friends that after Christopher Reeves had his accident, Robin Williams campaigned, forever to raise money for his foundation. And I think also paid for a lot of his care. Certainly contributed. And yeah, you'd never think, but if you just Google search like Robin Williams, Christopher Reeve, there's loads of pictures of them when they're young, just hanging around and mucking about. And
probably just as well then that Robin Williams didn't pitch up in one of the later films.
Yeah, well, he was wanted in 3. The director wanted the baddie to be Mr. Oh God, what's he called? Mr. Mixie Plixie Pixie. He's a Superman villain. I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Yeah, was he the sort of Riddler type?
Yeah, he's like a little goblin Riddler. He's like a kind of Batmite type thing, and they wanted. I think he wanted either Robin Williams or Dudley Moore or something like that.
Oh,
and luckily they went with a Lex Luthor clone instead.
Yeah,
Ross Webster.
Didn't that go well?
Anyway, so where did we get to? Yeah, so
we've just had the army bit, and we're back to Fortress of Solitude. Lois and Superman have had dinner, and she says she's going to go and slip into something more comfortable.
That's right.
Now, I didn't see her take a weekend bag with her, but this is where...
presumptuous.
Well, exactly. This is
Unless he's going to murder her, of course.
Well, maybe that's what he was getting from B&Q on his weekend off. He was getting a shovel and a bag of lime. He was going to bury her somewhere in the North Pole. But
put her in space.
with the other lady who could breathe in space. Oh, no, that's not a good place. That's not a good place to put her. But this is the bit where, and I didn't get this really, in that he decides he wants to be with her forever and ever and ever. So he has to give up his powers and presumed immortality, yet he still ages, in order to be with her. So, again, I don't really remember if that was explained better by Brando. It was probably explained in a better, more actor fashion anyway.
Yeah.
But he basically, and this was pretty much the plot of that fucking Spider-Man film, isn't it? He gives up his powers.
Yeah.
But he has to become a mortal man.
Yes.
And the mum explains that he can bleed and everything else. But I just didn't get it. I mean, other than being insanely fast, which is not something you want to be in that sort of relationship, I guess.
Yes.
I don't really know, because it wasn't really presumed that he was going to live forever.
No.
And yet he has to live as a mortal.
Who wants to live forever, hey? You know, we've all seen the terrifying documentary called Highlander.
Yeah, I like the score.
Conor McLeod had to watch the love of his life age and die.
Oh God, that was on Channel 4, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it?
The documentary.
Oh,
Yeah.
the documentary, yeah. And Queen with Adam Lambert did the music. No, I'm kidding. It was a normal Queen.
Yeah. I suppose if they were going to live forever, Freddie Mercury would still be here and not turning in his fucking grave.
Yeah.
But yeah, this part didn't really sort of ring true and that. But Lois didn't seem to make much of an effort to stop him. Bear in mind that she loves Superman. She wasn't really interested in Clark, albeit the act. But she only sort of says afterwards, "Oh, you did all that for me."
Yeah.
But then, surely this is maybe like going out with like an actor, and you fall in love with someone like you've seen on the films. I don't know. Is it like maybe this is a subplot to Notting Hill?
It would make a good Notting Hill film, actually, if Hugh Grant was a superhero and had to give up his powers to Julia Roberts. Presumably, he'd be kind of like Quinoa Man, or what's the Waitrose people call it? Arcadia or something.
Ocado Man, yeah.
Ocado Man, yeah, there you go. And he'd deliver gluten-free oats to all his friends.
Yeah, but he fights for press freedom, justice, and the British way.
Exactly. All with sort of stammering in between, like press freedom and that sort of thing.
And I'm going to do something to Paddington in a film that I haven't seen, so I'm not going to speculate.
It's a very good film.
But apparently he's very good in it as well.
Oh, he's amazing in it. I mean, also, because it's a Richard Curtis superhero, you'd have to do something very rapey, because that's the running theme throughout his films.
Yeah, he'd have to either sort of put on some sort of show, or maybe he has a sort of wanky Welsh roommate.
Yeah, or he'll give Lois a kiss that makes her forget everything after he's had sex with her, which is, that's what happens.
I mean, I'm sure it's like Poison Ivy in that he has Rohypnol flying through his veins, ready to dispense at a moment's notice.
I won't say. In the current climate, that is awful.
It is, and I challenge myself, and I will donate the fee from this to the Time's Up movement.
Come on, guys, let's just be better.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just be better.
And
you're letting us all down.
I think it's disgusting. I should have maybe pushed for a more diverse cast.
Maybe you should have picked a film that wasn't so problematic, eh?
I think when I come to explore Dirty Dancing, which I think I've mentioned may have been some sort of prequel to The Shining in the previous episode, we'll discover that. Although it's my guest who made the joke in The Shining about the blood from the lifts being a euphemism for periods.
Yeah, I've heard that theory, actually.
It should have been blue.
But also, you should pick a non-problematic superhero film, like Superman 3, where he fucks a lady and then comes back later and says he doesn't know who she is.
I mean, we've all done that one.
Have we? Have we, though? You might have done.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been to the walkabout in Watford. I know how it goes. Who are you? I can't remember. Fucking hell.
Yeah, they got Rohypnol tap there.
That was my identical twin. Would you like a Rohypnol top? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, lady. I don't know who you are.
Yeah. What was the other thing? The bridge. Oh, don't worry. I'm always on time now. I'm going to make you feel fucking uncomfortable.
That's weird, that bit.
I'm going to kiss you so hard a truck's going to fall off a bridge. Moving on.
Yeah.
He's given up his powers, and they've gone off because, like, maybe going out on some sort of... He's going out on a first date, and he thinks he might get lucky. I'm going to change the bedclothes and put my shiny satin sheets on.
I like his sheets.
They're very shiny.
I bet they're a bugger for staining, though. Also, they look like they'd collect juices. It's the sort of thing you put in a turkey.
It's the sort of angle. Things are going to pool at the bottom.
They are going to pool at the bottom. It's going to look like a birthing pool.
It looks like the bed from Octopussy.
It does, but...
But yeah, he's presumptuous enough to have this already, just in case, and I suppose they're all faster than a speeding bullet line. We don't see that bit, thankfully.
No.
And they're all snuggled up. Meanwhile, the villains are stepping up their plan. They've taken over East Houston-on-Thames. They deface Mount Rushmore, which really cleverly done, the way that they laser themselves so well onto the side of a mountain.
It's the sort of thing Trump would do.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't done that already.
I'm surprised he hasn't done it as well, yeah. He'd watch this film and think it was some sort of documentary and think, oh, that's a good idea. Only if Fox showed it, obviously.
To be fair, I think in one of the deleted scenes from the first film, the president was too busy playing golf to realise the nuclear missiles had gone off.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the White House siege, they basically break into the White House and have a little bit of fun. Zod starts shooting at a machine gun and throwing some people around. And eventually they find their way to the Oval Office, and Duman and Zod, being camp as fuck, wants everyone to kneel in front of him.
Yeah.
And immediately they have a stooge. I've seen enough presidential things on telly to think that they probably have some sort of bunker.
Yeah.
I think from Independence Day, Bill Pullman didn't just sit in the Oval Office waiting for a leather-clad alien to turn up and want him on his knees.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Trump spends a lot of time in the bunker, you know what I mean? Hey?
But of course, this is the sort of thing that Trump would do. I'm not the president, have this fucking geezer instead.
He'd hand over Kushner, wouldn't he?
Yeah. You can pretend to be the president. They probably haven't seen the news.
Yeah.
You know, take it like a man. I'll give you one of my companies. Zod sees through it. It's the real president in, again, a hideous syrup.
Yeah, E.G. Marshall, isn't it?
And again, maybe I remember him, I suppose, probably not his finest work, being one of the dads from Christmas Vacation. He certainly wasn't wearing it then.
I wonder if his son is the rapper Example.
I like what you did.
Thanks, because he's E.G. Yeah, old school. Yeah, sorry, carry on. Writing that down for my stand-up set.
This is a bit of Zod's sort of egomania running through when the president kneels down and says, "Oh God." I say, "Oh, Zod."
Zod.
Yeah. Sort of play on words there.
Terence Stamp, it must be said, has some cracking lines in this.
Oh, he loves it.
They may not be very good lines, but he delivers them beautifully. Like, that red light grows like our Krypton sun. And he says, not this annoying noise. And he says, I like that red light. It glows red like our Krypton sun. But not this annoying noise, though. Make way. Yeah.
Something I didn't realise.
Blow them a kiss.
I'd never noticed before how often he rolls his eyes.
Oh, yeah. He's good.
Because Non is like a sort of puppy who's trying to please him.
Yeah.
And Ursa's just this fucking lunatic he keeps around.
Yeah.
And every time they do something with that sort of notice me, and it's the sort of thing that I do when my wife asks me to do something I've already done. It's that sort of eye roll.
Oh, bit of misogyny there for the podcast.
Yeah, that's all right, she won't listen. But it's one of those things that he does, and he just pulls it off with that sort of air of superiority even to them, you know, people who have supposedly equal powers.
Yeah.
But they're still his underlings.
But then he meets, is it soon after this that he meets Lex Luthor?
This is, so it's after the diner scene anyway, because I think at that point, that's where that's where the president has sort of abdicated his powers.
And then he says, Superman, where are you? This is after Clark's had the shit kicked out of him.
By the trucker from Jewel, probably.
Rocky. I just had the place redecorated, Rocky. Yeah, so, and then they, fucking hell, what are they called? The Kryptonians are in the White House, and Luthor turns up and basically says that he wants to, a small piece of real estate. Australia. A good line.
It's good.
And then we get the Lex Luthor, ruler of Australia. Because Luthor tells them that the Superman's Achilles heel is Lois Lane, and she works at the Daily Planet.
The way that, because they wanted to kill him, and again, this is the sort of thing that I didn't twig a bit later on, is that they keep saying, kill him, just do it, man. But he sort of saves his life by saying that he knows about Jor-El and the son of Jor-El.
Yeah.
And that they will crush the son of our jailer.
Yeah.
It's a good bargaining chip.
But for years when I was a kid, I misremembered it as it being some sort of Boy Scout thing. Like, we shall crush the son of our jailer.
He was obviously a sixer. Had ambitions to take over. That would have been a very different...
Yeah, so Clark takes the long walk back to the Fortress of Solitude and has a chat with his mum, because obviously his dad's busy. Obviously, maybe gone to Wix or something.
Yeah.
So the mum's there, and she talks to him about how, Actually, we don't see him changing back, do we? I'm making that up.
Well, no, because...
she talked to him earlier.
All we see is he goes in there and realises that the Fortress of Solitude is sort of destroyed in what the crystal bit is. And he sees the green crystal from the first film, and that Lois had been sitting on, and that sort of reactivates. That's, again, something that is missing from this film as opposed to the other bits, in that all we see in this is he goes up there, it's all very green.
Yeah.
He sees this crystal, and then it cuts.
But then you get the excellent bit where he turns up and stands on the flagpole and says,
General, would you care to step outside?
Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
See, it worked then, because he said that to the geezer in the diner, who promptly battered him and pushed him through a plate glass window.
Exactly.
So, and the confidence of having superpowers.
It's like poetry, sort of, that rhymes, as George Lucas would say. Yeah, so they have a big fight, they have a big punch-up, and then we get Richard Lester exercising his comedy muscles by, people being on the phone and when there's wind and being blown out of the phone box, people on roller skates with ice lollies, ice creams going in bald man's bald heads, that sort of thing.
Window dummies falling over each other.
Yeah, buildings falling down on women who then just, instead of moving, just go, my baby!
But there's something I realised, and I suppose you've still got to pay for all this expensive set outside of Hollywood Studios. The amount of product placement alone in this scene.
Yeah,
you've got KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Marlboro, the huge Coca-Cola sign.
Yeah.
It's all, I suppose you're supposed to be in the middle of virtually Times Square, aren't you? But even so, it's...
in the big apricot.
Yeah, of course, yeah. As we find out, it's New York in all but name.
Yeah.
But this fight was weird because, when you compare it to, what was that other one? Man of Steel, where it's basically, it's CGI to fuck, but it's let's knock buildings down with lasers and throwing people through it and everything. And yet in this one, Superman actually seems genuinely concerned about the actual people who live there, and when he catches that antenna that's going to land on that woman's buggy, quite careful about the truck that's going to blow up.
Also, you get that idea that the people really like Superman, because the bit where he gets Zod and spins him round and throws him, everyone's like, yeah. I like that bit.
And it's good, and he's worried when they pick up the bus and things like that. And yet, this is, you compare it, and it's apples and oranges really, but you compare it to the last couple of films.
Yeah. Although, did you see Justice League?
I haven't seen it yet, no. All I've heard about it is there's a moustache in it.
Yeah, to be fair, when Superman comes into it later on in the film, spoiler alert, Superman's in it, they've changed him completely. He's they've even made the costume lighter with colours. And he's much more, the big boy Blue Scout type thing, rather than a big moody fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Oh, that's good.
But I doubt we'll see him again.
Growing up and seeing Man of Steel and basically getting such a bad headache from all the stuff in there, and then that Dawn of Justice thing where you can... I suppose the idea is you see Bruce Wayne's side, where you see Metropolis crumbling. Maybe there's an alternate universe where that happened here. Bruce Wayne happens to be in Metropolis, and he just goes...
In a KFC.
Going, oh, fuck. Yeah. It's really windy here.
I'm looking forward to that bargain bucket. But also, because you get Zod literally saying, I've realised what his weakness is. He cares for these people. I think that's quite a nice moment. Where they realise the only way to stop him is to hurt the people.
Because it puts that sort of the onus on him then, because it's all well and good you can match these three people if he's got home advantage, as it were, but then he can't look after however many extras and English people happen to be loitering around the set.
Yeah, so he cleverly decides to take the fight to the Fortress of Solitude.
But that's only after the really super blow thing where they just stand in the middle of the street and breathe out.
Yeah, and that's when you get the comedy business of the ice creams and all that business.
It's an odd way to end that phase of the fight anyway, just blowing. And obviously Superman's gone off, and they imply that he's scared, where it actually turns out he's probably with his B&Q or Wix screwdriver just changing the wires on his little molecule chamber.
Yeah.
Because then they go pick up Lex Luthor and Lois and fly off to the Fortress of Solitude where he's waiting.
Yeah, and you also get Gene Hackman's body double on the back of one of the Kryptonians with the voice going, hey, because he refused to do these bits.
I know there's a running joke online with some of these lookalike agencies and stuff, but you really think that a big studio would be able to find someone who, even if you dress them up, looks a bit like Gene Hackman and could probably. I know he's got quite a distinctive voice, but could at least do a good impression.
Yeah, so they go to Superman's house, and that's where you get the bit where he starts doing loads of things he's never done before ever, like throwing a cellophane S.
What's that about?
And
looks like the old wrapper from a Lucozade bottle.
It does, and then he also sort of duplicates himself all around the room, which is very odd.
And yet one of them turns into rock, one of him is see-through or not there, and again they realise that he's onto us. Let's kill this woman.
Yeah.
It's just easier, isn't it?
And then he strikes a deal with Luthor, basically saying, if you get them into that machine, it'll take away all their powers, because he knows Luthor will betray him. And you get the you get the best moment in one of my favourite moments in superhero history of Superman going in the machine and reversing the polarity, as it were, and then him having to kneel before Zod, and it's such an incredibly done moment because it's Donna, and he crushes Terrence Stamp's hand. It's a wonderful moment because the Superman theme comes in perfectly. Yeah, he picks him up and throws him away. The only thing that ruins it is Lois saying, "You're a real pain in the neck."
Yeah.
No one would say that.
You'd just punch her or headbutt her or something.
Yeah.
But then they'd had a bit of a set to earlier on, but even then it wasn't anything to write home about.
No, what you'd want there really is a payoff line, like maybe Ursa says something to her earlier and she gets to sort of pay it back to her. That would have worked better than you're a pain in the neck.
Yeah. Could be along the lines of, I'm going to punch you and you're going to fall into this weird mist.
Yeah, I mean, in the Donna cut, it establishes that they've just fallen down and the police come and take them away, but we don't get that here. And then Superman flies Lois home and gives her the magic kiss that makes her forget everything.
I know in the original, this was meant to be the end of a two-part story where he turns the world back again. Well, it wouldn't have been again. He turns the world back.
Yeah.
But to change it with, right, I'm going to kiss this woman. She's not going to remember anything until Superman 4, when I'm going to have to kiss her again because it's worn off.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go back to the diner wearing the same clothes he wore when he went to the diner the first time.
Yeah.
But he's managed to get the blood out and decides to, I suppose, that Rocky breaks his hand, probably trying to punch him, gets humiliated. That's no way to treat a man.
No, it's not.
But you chuck him on his dinner and throw him into a pinball machine.
Yeah.
I suppose it inspired, because the waitress in the diner was the woman who won the free holiday in Superman 3. So,
you're right. Yeah, she is, isn't she?
Yeah. She steals the money from the bloke. Clark gives him money and just says, I've been working out. It's like, no, you've been planning this.
Yeah.
You've gone out of your way. You said you're going to get Lois Lane a hamburger. I don't know where this diner's meant to be, whether it's Alaska or somewhere else, but it's a long way from Metropolis. He's flown there just to take it out on this bloke. And let's be fair, this bloke probably doesn't live in there, so he's probably staked it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait outside.
This is incredibly petty.
I'm going to wait outside, and then, only then, am I going to take the American flag back to the White House. God bless America.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he says, I won't be away next time, which basically means I'm never going to get my end away again.
I'm never going to get my end away.
Thanks.
I'm at your beck and call.
Except he does, though, of course. He shags Pamela Stevenson.
Yes, but...
or does he?
Well, I suppose when you see that it is actually two different people, not just a chat-up line gone wrong. That's a pretty all-in way of doing a Billy Connolly impression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get Pamela Stevenson.
He'd have gone, have you ever noticed that your pubes are grey? That sort of thing.
But yeah, and that's it. We get coming soon Superman 3. Mm-hmm. Richard Pryor was sitting there waiting by the phone, waiting for that. This film was probably the one I watched most as a kid. I think, even as we said earlier, the first film was, and certainly in hindsight, far superior. But as a kid anyway, growing up, this was the one that you go to because it's accessible.
Yes. Yeah, I only really, really got into the first one when I was a teenager, I think. I was about 15, 16, when when I had the patience for it. I remember it was around the time that I'd really got into The Godfather. I seem to have got to a point in my life when I was about 16, 17, where I was like, I really like long, boring films. And Superman was great because as a child, it's really boring.
Yeah.
But I've got a bit of an affliction that I quite like long, boring films, and Superman's got that lush. It's basically 3 films in one because you get 4 because you get the Kryptonian stuff, you get the Norman Rockwell Smallville, you get the Superman and Metropolis. Actually, it is 3. Yeah, I'm lying. And you also get John Williams at the top of his game, bringing like 3 different themes and 4 maybe. I can't count this evening, as you can tell. But yeah, Superman 2 is the one I watched the most as a kid because it had Superman fighting other people. And the whole Metropolis fight sequence was one I watched a lot. And I even liked Superman 3 a lot as a kid as well because, again, it had stuff in there that was quite funny. Like when he turns evil and he blows out the Olympic torch. That's when I was a child. I thought it was hilarious. And I went to see Superman 4 at the cinema.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. I remember fondly, my dad took me, and I needed a wee at the bit where they made Nuclear Man by launching that nuclear missile. Where Gene Hackman says, that was close.
Yeah.
And I remember going for a wee, and I came back and I said to my dad, did I miss anything? And he goes, no. He looked really annoyed. So I always think of that when I watch it, because I always think now, because I've as a parent, I've taken my kids to see some real shit.
I bet.
And nothing. To be honest, though, sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, God, I'd love to watch Superman 4 right now.
Yeah.
So he got off lucky. He didn't have to go and see the Emoji Movie.
Blimey. I remember my dad taking me to see. He took me to see some months. I mean, he took me to see my first Bond film. But I think I went to see this when I was on holiday visiting family in Ireland. Sorry, I didn't see this. I saw Superman 4 in Ireland, and again, sort of had that same. I think even then I must have been 7 or 8, coming out thinking the same as I did. I think the first time I saw the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Of just that sort of, what the fuck?
I had the same exactly, but if I'm honest with myself, if I look myself in the mirror, Superman 4 and the Phantom Menace were the same with me because my love blinded me. In that I saw Superman 4 and I came out of it thinking, well, it wasn't that bad, and it had some good bits, and I was so excited that there was a new Superman film. And I think I had the same with the Phantom Menace. I saw it twice in the same day. I went to the cinema to book tickets for the evening, and the bloke was like, well, it's starting in 5 minutes and there are loads of tickets left. So me and my mate were like, oh, and we went in and we watched it and we came out and we were like, wow, a new Star Wars film. And we were quite excited, and then we saw it in the evening.
Yeah.
And then that was when it kicked in. I was just like, no, this is pretty bad, isn't it? There's nothing here. And the only good thing about it, you chopped in half at the end.
Yeah. And he was the bit that you marketed and left in for all of 5 minutes. Yeah.
Imagine how much better the other 2 films would have been if Darth... Anyway, we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
Anyway, that's Superman 2.
It is. And as we said at the start, it's a troubled film, and yet we're still talking about it fondly. And, it's one of those nostalgia trips that, we can quite easily come back to and watch. I suppose it probably helps if you've had a couple of beers, and there must be some sort of drinking game involving Kneel Before Zod or something like that. But either way, I mean, I get an excuse to watch the film again, and with a different pair of eyes, actually noticing things I hadn't before. And I say Zod's eye rolling was probably the one that stood out. But it was good laugh anyway.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay, well, John Wayne, thank you very much for joining me on the Betamax Video Club. What can people expect from Smirsh Pod now that you're into the Daniel Craig era? What's coming next?
There is going to be some side special next, and then we will get into the Daniel Craig era. And then once that finishes, I've just been planning this week to go and do lots and lots more side specials for a little bit. I've got about 17 or 18 planned in.
Fantastic.
And then after that, I'm going to do a season of Michael Caine.
Oh, excellent. You got a name for it yet?
The Caine Scrutiny.
Ah.
Yeah. But that's going to be a long way off. At the moment, I'm just sort of. I've recorded all but 2. I've still got Skyfall and Spectre to do, and then it's done. Yeah. So it's all very exciting. And there you go.
I suppose your Smash Pod Twitter feed is occasionally comes up with little Easter eggs and things for people to look forward to. So I guess if anyone wants to follow that, it's at Smash Pod on Twitter.
Thank you. Yes, it is. Yeah, and we posted something this evening which has turned out not to be true, so I've had to remove that and post something else. So that's good. It's a good start to 2018. So yeah, keep an eye on that, and it should be good. We've got some good stuff coming up. Good guests.
Excellent. Well, say one guest I did see on Twitter the day before this was recorded put something on which piqued my interest severely. So I'll just leave it at that and let anyone listening, and in the unlikely event anyone hasn't already listened to Smirshpod, please do.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. And what I'll do is I'll play out something, maybe just for a treat. I'll use a John Williams score to close this rather than the Ken Thorne School Band Euphonium edition.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's been great. Thank you.